St. Louis at the new Busch Stadium. They've lost the first two, and they'll try to do it tonight with Mark Reynolds at first base. We have talked a lot about Mark Reynolds this season, almost an all-star, because he's having that kind of a season. But I want to go back a couple of years when Mark Reynolds was actually a member of the St. Louis Cardinals. It was a critical year for his career. He did a lot of learning. Yeah, you know, he can hit home runs, but he had some singles, he had some doubles. He changed his swing, and that's because their hitting coach and current hitting coach, John Mabry, the former Rocky, got to him and told him what he did. And I said, what did you do with Mark Reynolds?
Just Mark being Mark, you know, and I mean, we're talking about everything. We're trying to, you know, help everybody, try to, you know, meet them in their space and figure out what they want to be as players or who they want to be as players. And, you know, one day we get to talking about it, and Mark wanted to be something a little bit more than he was, and so he went down that path of fixing a few things, and all he needed was playing time, you know, and to get out there on a regular basis. I mean, he'd already done a lot of things in the game. I mean, there's not many folks that have his kind of power, and the only thing he needed to do was clean up the strikeouts a little bit, and he rose that average a little bit and staying on the ball, which generates more opportunities for RBIs, for extra base hits, for everything that's in the game. But you know, he's a professional, and he knows what he wants out of the game, and he knows who he is as a player, and it was fun to watch him do his thing.
Reynolds has been around since 2007. Keep in mind, in St. Louis, he was a part-time player. He thought he would be that in Colorado, but he's had a lot of playing time. And you see how his numbers have improved with the Rockies. In fact, this season, his on-base percentage is at .374, and he has more total bases this year than he did all of last year. And we haven't even hit August yet. But that's the kind of player that Mark Reynolds is. And he was the student, and he did a lot of learning here in St. Louis. And the Rockies are fortunate that that is paying off in Colorado. Hopefully it does tonight, because Mark, of course, is at first base as the Rockies get set to take on St. Louis. We will come back to Busch Stadium and get you set for baseball. The famous arch. Construction started in '63. It's 630 feet high and wide. Maybe the Rockies can hit a couple of balls that'll go more than 630 feet tonight.
You won't see it for long.
Game 3 of this series in St. Louis, a little trip down the Mississippi River. And a few blocks from the mighty Mississippi lies Busch Stadium, the new Busch Stadium. And it has been problematic, as we discussed, for the Rockies. They have lost 21 of their last 26 here, but alas, they're trying to get a victory tonight and then enjoy an off day at our nation's capital tomorrow before they take on the Nationals on the weekend. Rockies 14 games north of 500. The Cardinals within 2 now of 500 in a tight race in that National League Central. Jed Jerko had the game-winning hit, if you will, or swing of the bat. It was not a hit, it was a sac fly that drove in the kid Harrison Bader in the walk-off victory last night, 3-2 for St. Louis. Here's the Southwest batting order tonight against Carlos Martinez. Charlie will lead things off, then LeMahieu, Arenado, Parra, Reynolds, Cargo. Trevor Story swinging the bat well. Ryan Hannigan starting again this evening, and Jeff Hoffman on the hill. Ian Desmond was not placed on the disabled list. They're trying to avoid that if at all possible, but he is certainly down tonight, so the Rockies will have a thin bench. Carlos Martinez making his 21st start, and he's very, very good. Very talented.
Yeah, he's known as a tsunami. His hair is colored blue because he had a bad start, and his wife thought it was a great idea for him to change his hair blue. He's a 3-pitch mix, fastball and some off-speed pitches. Second best in the National League with the lowest batting average against the secondary pitches. The slider and the changeup are pretty much filthy. The Rockies have to jump out early, 4.95 ERA in the first inning, then he settles down. And just like what we've seen throughout Major League Baseball, Martinez's strikeouts per 9 way up, and so is the home runs per 9, up to 1.1 home run per 9.
Let's take a look at the Experian defensive alignment for St. Louis. There's the kid Bader. He's already yawning.
Why is he tired? Are you kidding me?
He just looked at his own baseball card and he says, man, I look good on this. Now, actually, he's probably checking a scouting report. He is in the middle. Tommy Pham is in left field. Randall Grichuk is in right. It's Jerko, DeYoung, Wong, and Carpenter in the infield, and Yadier Molina seemingly catches every day. So we're set for baseball. The Rockies need to win the first inning. They were outscored in the first 2 frames of this series, or the first 2 games of this series in the first inning. 2-zip, 2-zip. You don't want to consistently fall behind early. First pitch misses, ball 1 on Charlie. He has good numbers against Martinez. Shows bunt, takes a strike. Charlie is 7 for 14, including a home run against Martinez. Fouled off. Yesterday was one of those rarities. Charlie did not have a hit in last night's ball game. He was 0 for 4. However, it took 2 outstanding defensive plays to keep him from having a hit. Diving catch in left field by Pham. Diving catch at second base late by Colton Wong. Slider, strike 3.
Secondary pitch already on display. Backdoor slider. You can see where the big 95-mile-an-hour fastball that Martinez has, and he can set it up because he has fantastic control of his secondary pitches.
That'll bring up LeMahieu. DJ 0 for 2, a couple of walks last night, and that pitch misses. Mark Carlson's calling balls and strikes tonight. C.B. Buckner is at first, Manny Gonzalez at second, and Fielden Colbreth is at third. And that tails inside 2-0. The game time temperature is 85 degrees. Now, yesterday, you may have heard me mention that it was 90 degrees at the start of the evening. Despite the fact that it's 5 degrees, and I put this in air quotes, cooler, it is much hotter. Does that make any sense, Billy?
No, it makes none.
Okay. The humidity is like way up there.
I'm sweating right now.
And that's why that young lady has a fan. It's like, Dad, I told you I'd go to the baseball game with you, but you didn't tell me it was going to be so hot. Here's the 3-1 on LeMahieu. And another walk for DJ. That is the 54th walk allowed in less than 130 innings. So as Billy mentioned, he will walk some guys. With Martinez, you have to take advantage. Runners in scoring position. He doesn't give you much. one of those guys that gets better when he has traffic. Nolan's first at bat. Last 20, he's hitting .381 with 7 home runs. He's driven in 27 in those 20 ball games. A slugging percentage well over .700. Popped up out of play. Nolan had a big double in last night's ball game to help the Rockies get their first run, and they eventually tied it at 2 in the 8th on the Trevor Story home run. And then Bader had his first big league hit in the 9th, a double, and would get sacrificed to third and used his great speed to score on a sac fly. Nolan 4 for 13, matching up with the blue-haired Tsunami. And he's usually pretty economical. It's because he induces a lot of weak contact. Major league average is about 17 pitches per inning. And this ball's driven to deep left field, way back. Take a good look. You won't see it for long. 2-0, Colorado. Just what they needed.
Make that 9 home runs given up by Martinez in the last 7 starts. Nolan was starting to feel it last night in a bat against Lance Lynn, sped it up. And 0-2 against a guy known for the strikeout. Leaves one center cut, and Nolan drops the barrel on it.
Well, doing well in the first inning, heck, doing well in all innings is nothing new for Nolan. He came into the game hitting .430 in the first inning this year. That leads all of baseball. He now has 6 home runs and 23 RBIs in the first inning this season. Jump on my back. I got you. What did we just talk about? Win the first inning after losing it on Monday and Tuesday? And Parra slices one foul.
Well, you know, for the pitcher, for Jeff Hoffman tonight, that takes some pressure immediately off of you, right off your shoulders. And we talked about this. 4.95 ERA in the first inning for Carlos Martinez. That's going to go up. It drops down to 3.06 for the rest of the innings. Rest of the game, he settles down. And we hear about this all the time. Whenever you're facing an ace-type guy, Carlos Martinez is an ace. You have to get them early before they settle down.
He's giving up some runs in that first frame. 2-2 now on Gerardo Parra. Parra last night a double and a sac fly. His at-bats don't resemble much of what we saw a year ago.
Has his legs under him.
And that's on the outside corner. Another backdoor slider. That's how he struck out Blackman. That's the second out. It'll bring up Mark Reynolds. Hopefully break down that swing one more time at Nolan.
What makes this swing so great, you can see Nolan just shorten up. Spinning slider, center cut, and right at contact, he just drops the barrel down, keeps his head down. Nobody keeps their head down at contact better than Nolan. And some people think it's about watching the ball off the barrel. You can't do that. Physically impossible to watch the ball off the barrel. It keeps his front shoulder driving through the baseball, which creates that backspin.
Well, he's given the Rockies a quick start, 2-0. And when we come back to Busch Stadium, we'll watch Jeff Hoffman hopefully tame the Cardinals. 2-0 Colorado on home run number 23 for Arenado. Oakland 2-run home run, and now they'll hand the baseball to Jeff Hoffman, who's unbeaten on the road, a 2.45 ERA, 4-0 record. Overall, he is 6-2. Take a look at the Cardinal lineup he'll face this evening, presented by Southwest Airlines for Mike Matheny. Matt Carpenter will lead things off, and then the guy who's been their MVP, Tommy Pham. I don't think many Cardinals fans would have predicted that. Paul DeYoung, he has been special also in his first couple of months in the big leagues. Jed Jerko, Yachty, Randall Grichuk, the kid Harrison Bader, Colton Wong, and then Carlos Martinez. Rockies do put a shift on Carpenter, which is a little bit unusual with a leadoff hitter. Usually think of a leadoff hitter working line to line.
Well, Carpenter will at least take his walks, and this is a guy that, when we're watching him, there's few players in baseball that take more pitches per plate appearance than him.
Hoffman at the first pitch in there. Hannigan goes to the outside corner, and this is popped up in the middle of the infield. Reynolds, Story, and it'll be Story. First baseman typically will always defer to a middle infielder. One out. Carpenter goes back to the dugout. Tommy Pham coming up. Tonight's defense brought to you by Experian. Rockies have been near the top of the charts defensively all year long. As you look at Story, Parra, Blackman, and Cargo in the outfield. Arenado and Story on that left side. LeMahieu and Reynolds on the right side. And a longtime Cincinnati Red, Ryan Hannigan behind the plate. Curveballs up and in. Tommy Pham, his first couple of years in the big leagues, when he had an opportunity, hit just 247. Got the vision corrected. And also just a different approach in talking to some people within the Cardinals organization. He's matured. He's figured out the game a little bit more at this level. And this year he's hitting 307. Plays with good energy, too. And Jeff falls behind 3-0.
That was one thing that Hoffman's done so well on the road. 33 innings pitched was a strikeout, 33 innings. But he also has only 5 walks. Cannot walk people on the road either. And he does.
So with one out, Pham to first, and that'll bring up Paul DeYoung, who hit a 2-run home run of his own last night in the first inning. The only run the Cardinals would get against John Gray, who went 5 innings. They didn't score again until the 9th. This guy likes to fire at the first pitch. That's a real good first pitch, and a good decision by Hannigan for that reason to go breaking ball.
And that's what young hitters in the major leagues are doing. And that's what, when you start getting a book on certain hitters, rookies are always going to get pitched fastballs. Show that you can hit the fastball. They're hunting fastball. They'll swing first pitch. Eventually, it gets to the point where teams will say, all right, let's start them off speed. Let's put off-speed pitches in fastball counts, a 2-1 count, 3-1 count, see if they can hit an off-speed pitch.
See if this slider works out. Good block by Hannigan. Pham drawing interest from Hoffman, and well, he should. Pham, double-digit stolen bases. He's the first Cardinal to have more than 10 home runs, more than 10 stolen bases in the first half since guess who?
Reggie Sanders?
That's a great guess. You take someone like that. How about Albert? Remember Albert used to steal bases? He'd sneak attack you. Mark Reynolds will not have a play.
Well, we know this number because last night Yadier Molina stole a base. Yadier Molina has 7 stolen bases this year. He's been caught 4 times.
2 in this series. The one yesterday, he's still standing up.
I would never have guessed that Yadier Molina had 11 stolen base attempts this year.
Neither would evidently the teams that are playing him. Did he really just go? His career high is a dozen in 2012. One and two on to Young. And he got him. Whoa. You can hear chirping out of the Rockies dugout. The old, you kidding me? And he made contact, he would have hit the arch. That's a swing.
Yep.
Two and two on to Young. Go foul. It will. Give me a guy, because we discussed this about DeYoung the other day. A lean, wiry build, yet generates a ton of pop. Who in your playing time can you think of that you looked at and you go, okay, he's got to be a, a singles, doubles guy maybe, and had top shelf power?
Top shelf power?
Or a lot more power than you would think looking at the body type.
Nate McCluth was one. I think Colby Rasmus is another one.
McCluth was a little guy. 2-2. Right center field, well hit. Cargo going back, and this just tied up the ball game. That is 6 runs allowed in the first inning in this series by the Rockies. And it seems to be this guy frequently. Paul DeYoung. Last night to left center, tonight to right center. 2 pitches after you thought you had him struck out.
The check swing is going to come back to bite him after a hanging curveball. DeYoung pulled the ball well foul, so they think, let's go fastball away. That fastball runs right back over the heart of the plate. You can see his power on display. It's a long ways to go opposite field.
He has 14 home runs as Jerko pops this up. 2 outs. Remember, he came up on May 28th at Coors Field and hit a home run in his first big league at bat. Having fun with another rookie, Bader. They've had great production from their rookies. They've had 6 guys, 5 position players, make their debuts this year. And of those guys that have debuted offensively, they've hit a combined .313 with 18 home runs and 47 RBIs. Rockies getting great production from a young pitching staff. The Cardinals are staying relevant behind a number of first-year players. 2-0 on Molina. One other note on DeYoung, he's hitting a home run every 13.69 at bats, which would be 7th best. It is 7th best in the National League among guys with 10+ home runs.
Well, a 4-pitch walk to Tommy Pham came back to bite him. He can live with the ball in the dirt where you didn't get the check swing called because you had multiple umpires doing it. Okay. Fastball runs back over the plate with 2 strikes. Can't walk anybody.
Well, Senzatella started the game the other day, walked the first 2, and they both scored. 2-2. Obviously, you had a lot of momentum as you took the field. Nolan got him off to a quick start, and you give it right back. Obviously, that is not what Jeff intended to do. Story will throw out Molina. In the inning, Paul DeJong strikes again. His 8th home run in the month of July. Ties it at 2. Colorado Rockies baseball on AT&T Sportsnet is brought to you by the 2017 Toyota Tundra in your hometown Toyota stores. By Wells Fargo. Wells Fargo customers get your 2-for-1 Rockies club level tickets by visiting wellsfargo.com/Rockies. And by Southwest Airlines. Yes to low fares with nothing to hide. That's transparency. 2-2 ball game as we go to the top of the second with Ryan Spilborghs and Mark Stout. I'm Drew Goodman. It'll be Carlos Gonzalez, Trevor Story, and Ryan Hannigan against Carlos Martinez. Martinez 6-8, but he has a very impressive 3.34 ERA. Remember the National League All-Star team a few weeks ago. Cargo takes a strike. Yesterday, Carlos had a base hit in the 9th inning. Rockies had 2 on and 2 outs. Story struck out, looking to end that threat to break up what was a 2-2 game in the 9th at that juncture. Cargo with the base hit in the 9th extended his hitting streak to 6 games, hitting .375 during those 6 ball games.
Oftentimes you'll hear the advanced analytics and people that love the Saber metrics say, kill the win. Well, Carlos Martinez is a good example of why people say kill the win. When you look at the run support that he has, one of the lowest in baseball. If you have a team that's scoring a bunch of runs, he's 16-0 with the low ERA that he has.
2-2, good swing. Well, the run support has been terrible at home, less than 3 runs a game. I'll tell you where I think the win was more relevant. Back in the days where the starting pitcher was around in the 9th inning. This is up the middle. Wong with a good pickup. One out, and that'll bring up Story. Behind in the count in the 8th inning, 1-2. He hit one over the bullpen into the seats to tie the game at 2. That was against Matt Bowman. Trevor of late is hitting .278 with 2 strikes. Which is approximately 100 points higher than the rest of the league's hitting with 2 strikes. It's a small sample size, but Trevor heading in the right direction. Takes a strike. 1-1. The Coors Light Cold Hard Facts brought to you by Clean Crisp Coors Light. Check this out. Home runs by a shortstop through their first 183 games. Trevor more than A-Rod. More than the Dodgers' Corey Seager. This is another ball on the ground, which when Martinez is rolling, he'll get a ground ball rate of close to 51%. His arm angle, Spilly, creates natural sink, doesn't it?
He talks about how his mechanics, his favorite player is Pedro Martinez. So mechanically, he looks very similar. And Martinez threw from kind of a three-quarter arm angle, and yes, that creates quite a bit of run on your pitches.
I would think for Carlos Martinez, it's a good guy to emulate. Better than, say, emulating Randy Johnson, who was 6'10" and threw lefty. A right-hander that wasn't real big. What do you think Pedro was? 5'9", really?
Probably.
Or is. And Hannigan will get thrown out as well by the shortstop DeYoung. 2-2, middle of 2.
In St. Louis, there's Jeff Hoffman. He threw 82 pitches in his previous start. That was Friday night against the Pirates. He threw 18 in the first inning. He's got to have the fastball command. He had 10 strikes in the first inning. We'll see how this game goes, but that's what he worked on, really aiming for fastball command with Tony Walters in his side this week.
And sometimes if you're missing a little bit bigger, you maybe, I don't know, pick a string that's hanging off his glove, something like that, or even as small as, a bar on his face mask or something like that. Just try to, focus in as little of a spot as possible.
So Drew and Spilly, that was the concentration in his side session. A little side note, he likes the humidity, being from New York, as you know, Drew, and he pitched well at Citi Field. He hopes that hat helps him a little bit tonight too.
Well, push reset after that first inning when he gave up the 2-run home run. He's got Randall Grichuk, and Grichuk takes outside, ball 1. Grichuk has hit 8th, 4th, and 6th in this lineup, or in the lineup for St. Louis in this series thus far. Here's the 1-0. It's a good spot.
It's a 4-pitch mix for Jeff Hoffman. He loves the humidity because he feels like he gets more movement with his fastball. The curveball has been good. The slider and changeup still a work in progress. Primarily fastball, curveball. It was interesting. We were talking with Darren Holmes the other day about his time with the Atlanta Braves, and Leo Mazzoni wouldn't allow his pitchers to be able to throw off-speed pitches until they could locate fastball.
Well, he did it specifically, and it was, you're right, it was a fascinating conversation. Remember, Darren had got hurt, and he had a terrific career. He won a Rolaids Relief Award at one point, the all-time great Rockies relievers, and he had gotten hurt, and he actually retired, and he was feeling better a year later, and he's like, you know what, I'm going to give this a whirl. There's a strikeout of Grichuk. And he signed with Atlanta because it was close to his hometown of Asheville. And he used to be a crossfire, and he wasn't nearly as flexible. And Leo Mazzoni said, hold on a second. And he simplified his stride to the plate. And the other thing that you were talking about is he wouldn't let him throw a curveball, which was his best pitch, you remember, until he could hit the outside corner knee high. He said 40 straight times. He said, if you do that in the bullpen, then we'll start spinning them.
Took him 4 separate sessions to be able to get an off-speed pitch. Think about that. This is a major leaguer. You should be able to spot a fastball in one spot 40 straight times. Couldn't do it.
Here's the 0-1 on Harrison Bader. Bader impacted the game with his first major league hit. He led off the ninth against McGee with a double. His family was going bonkers, and then he tagged up, and he has great speed. Cargo's throw short hopped. Hannigan, you're going to have to really hustle, and that'll be an infield hit. And that's all about what Nolan learned last night. He couldn't go leather there. Not the way Bader runs, and he has his second big league hit.
Nolan's only play is to go bare hand, and as you're watching Nolan, this ball's hit too hard, and even the great Nolan is going to have a lot of difficulty. It's pretty much a do or die play for Nolan to get Bader, who runs extremely well.
Colton Wong at the plate. Bader runs well, but is not a great base stealer yet. And 2-0 on Wong. And I know the reason you're thinking about that conversation we had with Darren Holmes, Bud Black's talked a lot about this, that his young staff still clearly growing at this level, and they've done so many terrific things. Tyler Chatwood, yes, is in the bullpen with Darren Holmes. We'll talk about that in a moment. But the young staff's fastball command, not where it needs to be. And I think it's probably dropped off a little bit here well into July due to a little bit of overall fatigue.
Of course.
Mental fatigue, physical fatigue. So back to Chatwood. Greg Holland not available the next few days. We wish Greg and his wife all the best because she is due with child, and so Greg's on the paternity list. And Tyler Chatwood was activated from the 10-day DL with a calf injury. And at least over the next few days, through the weekend in Washington, Chatwood will operate out of the bullpen. 2 outs, and this is Martinez at the plate. Not a great average, 167, but Martinez has picked his spots. He's got 7 ribbies. Rockies have 2 of the 6 players tied with 5 RBIs. Adam Wainwright, just placed on the DL, has 10.
Martinez
as
went
a
down to a knee like Adrian Beltre.
Yeah.
Beltre only 7 hits away from 3,000.
Remember 2 years ago, the Rockies were playing in Texas, and I said, this guy's a first ballot Hall of Famer. And there were a couple people who, you get flack for everything these days on social media, were like, what, are you kidding me? Yeah, he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. This ball deep short. He's running hard up the line. Story a perfect throw. Nice play by Trevor. In the inning, an infield hit for Bader. That's all. We'll go to the third. 2-2. Colorado Rockies baseball on AT&T Sportsnet is brought to you by Subaru. Love, it's what makes a Subaru a Subaru. And by UC Health, live extraordinary. Third inning for the Rockies. Jeff Hoffman at the top of the order. Rockies got a 2-run home run out of the gate by Nolan Arenado. Jeff Hoffman gave up a 2-run home run to Paul DeJong in the bottom half of the first. Now, Martinez wearing blue hair the last few weeks, but his wife may have him go with another look soon because he hasn't really been all that effective with blue hair.
Well, he's had several different hairstyles. It started off this season with the hair extensions. Then he went to the nice clean-cut looking Carlos Martinez, and he pitched extremely well. And now he went to the blue hairstyle. Now, the other day I was trying to figure out why was he dyeing his hair blue, so I typed into the Google machine. I said, Carlos Martinez highlights. And of course, I got video of him striking out a bunch of people. Then I had to retry again. Why is Carlos Martinez's hair styled blue? And then, as you just mentioned, it was his wife that said after a bad start, why don't you go blue?
Well, he doesn't have a fastball of a blue hair. Not at 95, strike one on Jeff Hoffman. Hoffman swings and misses, 2 strikes. Rockies limited to 7 hits on Monday night, 6 hits last night. I got one that is kind of surprising. The Rockies have hit 51 road home runs with the home run by Nolan in the first inning. Strikeout of Hoffman, 1 gone. That is the second fewest amount of road home runs in the National League. And overall, it's tied for 3rd from last in all of baseball, road home runs.
Even more reason why the Rockies have to string at bats together. Bud Black talked about that today in the press conference, saying, look, it's not just home road splits. there's not one magic formula to how to get these guys to score runs on the road. The best thing for them to do is what we always say up here, right? We say quality at bat, work a pitcher, find a way on, take a walk, get hit by a pitch, drop a drag bunt.
Line drive center field, and it'll get down in front of Bader. And Charlie has a hit with 1 out. That 500 average intact against Carlos Martinez. 8 for 16 now. DJ coming up. He walked and scored on the 2-run home run by Nolan. Last 2.5 years against the Cardinals, he's hit .381. This is the final matchup of the regular season between these two clubs. The Rockies are 2-3 against St. Louis.
Quick move by Martinez over to Charlie at first. And a quick move like that will force Charlie to shorten up his lead.
He was 1-1-7 to the plate there, which was going to shut a running game down. That's in the Subaru strike zone, but called the ball by Mark Carlson.
Anything below a 1-2, there's no chance. Not even Billy Hamilton can steal off a 1-1-7.
Slice to right, and that is fair, a base hit, and it gets by Grichuk. DJ digging for seconds, got to get down. Safe, avoided the tag. Second and third, 1 out. A creative slide by LeMahieu to beat the throw by Grichuk.
Charlie off the bat knew this was going down the line, so it's an easy run for Charlie to get to third. But for DJ's feeling better with the growing strain, and Grichuk makes this a lot closer than I ever thought it would be. They're going to check it out.
I'll tell you why. They're going to check it because of the bounce. The unintended consequence of replay. Initially safe, but did he maintain contact with the bat?
He's safe at first.
And did the tag stay on him? That's the other part of it.
Right, he touches the bag first, so that part is right. And now they're just going to see if he maintains that bag, and I think he's going to come off.
That didn't take long. He evidently came off. DJ was already off the field because they had rolled it on the big video board out in right center field. That's a shame. Safe. Tag still on him, and this will show it, I believe. And the foot's in the air, and the knee, the back knee, hasn't touched the bag yet. So instead of second and third, 1 out, it's 2 outs. Charlie at third. See if Nolan can come through again.
O2 hanging slider to Nolan. Drops the head, drops the barrel. Gets to make a couple left-handed turns.
2-0 pitch to work with. And now it's 3-0. The Rockies, especially the top part of the lineup, putting together good ABs against Martinez. strike.
That pitch at 99 miles an hour. 3-0 pitch.
My memory is accurate. I think he touched 100 on a couple of pitches in Denver earlier this year. 3-1. And another strike at 100. Very unusual to see a starting pitcher throw the baseball 100 miles an hour. And then he goes slider. You're probably like me at home. You throw 100. You just threw 199, 100. Why not come back with it? So he walks Arenado, and Parra will come up. Rocket Arms brought to you by Quicken Loans. He is the third highest or hardest throwing starting pitcher in the National League. Garrett Cole of Pittsburgh. Steven Strasburg, who the reports are pretty good on Strasburg. You know, he had to leave that game with some tightness in his forearm in his last start. They don't think it's real serious. See if Parra, who's been so good, can come through here with 2 outs. Line drive toward the gap, left center field. Out of baby Gerardo Parra. Nolan's going to have a chance to score. Cole will send him, and he will score standing up. 2-run double, Gerardo Parra. 4-2 Colorado. What an extraordinary piece of hitting, and what an extraordinary year Parra's having.
That's how you get back at it. You look at scoring 2 in the first, coughing it right back up, and then for the Rockies, against a guy 5th best in Major League Baseball with runners in scoring position. 173 batting average against him in Carlos Martinez. Parra gets a sinker that he can handle and shoots it in the gap. And I love Nolan. He knew he was scoring. He was not going to take a chance. He didn't even really look at Stu Cole at third base. He was scoring.
And this is to left field. Mark Reynolds flies out, but the Rockies do damage with 2 outs. They overcome the disappointment of losing the appeal on LeMahieu's double. They have a 4-2 lead. Gerardo Parra in the middle of the storm yet again.
Star Wars night at Busch Stadium. That's Fred Bird. They were playing Star Wars theme music, and then they decided they were going to play Celine Dion, Always Love You, and they started dancing. Oh, Whitney
Beautiful.
Houston.
That's Whitney Houston, but that's beautiful. Almost, but not quite. Brought a tear to my eye. Jeff Hoffman with another 2-run lead. And Matt Carpenter, the leadoff man, who he induced a pop-up from in the first inning, will be the first up in the 3rd inning. And that Gerardo Parra has been just terrific. good curveball. 2 strikes. Rockies scored 4 runs combined in the first 2 ball games here, and they have 4 in 3 at bats in game 3. Ball and 2 strikes. Three on the right side for the Rockies. LeMahieu, the outfield grass. Carpenter's first few years in the big leagues didn't hit many home runs. The last 3 years, he's produced 63 home runs. Not unusual to see guys develop power at the big league level. Charlie Blackmon's an example of that. Gap hitter when he first came up. He's going to hit over 30. You know that this year. Last year, he was just 1 shy of hitting 30. That's really close. Hannigan wanted it. You can tell by how long he framed it for home plate umpire Mark Carlson, and it should have been a strike.
Hoffman's had a lot of pitches this year, not just tonight, where he has late movement, late run, and hasn't had the call.
2-2. That's wasted.
With Ryan Hannigan behind the plate, he's a 3.48 ERA, which is 3rd best among National League catchers with 20+ starts. He does an excellent job in navigating a lineup.
Two balls, 2 strikes. Carpenter, who has an outstanding eye, takes that pitch, 3-2. Guy's always walked a ton. Tommy Pham is on deck. Up losing him.
Get on-demand access to the rooftop with the Rooftop Ballpark Pass. $96 for 8 games, including concessions credit. Choose the days and redeem your pass from your phone. Go to Rockies.com/rooftop for more information.
Tommy Pham walked and scored in the first on the DeYoung home run. Breaking ball for a strike. Pham hitting .365 his last 20, including 5 home runs. Overall at .307. Started the year in Memphis. Memphis, by the way, is 67-35. The best record in AAA baseball. And that's a base hit. Carpenter's going to go first to third. And now on the perfect throw to the cutoff man, the Rockies are going to get an out. That's a great job by Charlie Blackmon. You have to throw it hat high to your shortstop, and he's going to read the trail runner, and that was executed beautifully.
It's exactly right. You throw the ball to the cutoff man, and you allow the cutoff man to make a decision. Inside out swing from Tommy. Charlie's not trying to throw out Carpenter at third. There's Trevor reading Tommy Pham. Runs him down.
And you know what I love also about that, Spilly?
He didn't allow
one throw and terminate the run down.
Exactly. Well, you have to get Tommy moving towards first base. Oftentimes you'll see the guys throw the ball too soon. most importantly, you'll see it. The infielder has to show the baseball to the other infielder. Don't keep it in the glove and all of a sudden pull it out, especially with only a couple of feet to get that throw to.
DeYoung at the plate, 2-run opposite field home run, and this is a wild pitch that comes back on a ricochet, fortunately, to Hannigan. The Rockies came close to getting one of those gifts where Carpenter got himself in no man's land. It's why I'm glad it worked out that way, but I'm going to pontificate for a moment. Pad up the back wall there, because you shouldn't get rewarded for a pass ball or a wild pitch.
This one doesn't even hit the brick. It hits the net and comes right back.
Well, that you can't pad up. But you know what I mean? And I'm glad it worked out for the Rockies, but it's an impossible read. Did you ever have that happen, Spilly?
Yeah, of course.
Where you say, oh, I'm going to score easily,
Yeah,
and next thing you know, it comes right back to the catcher.
Rockies have to figure out a way to get Paul DeYoung out.
That's been an issue. 5 for 10 in the series with 3 home runs. And that's a great block again. He's just overamping that. He's trying to make a Hall of Fame pitch, isn't he?
2-1, he's trying to bury his slider down and away.
Great block by Hannigan.
Great block by Hannigan. Might as well just
let him, you know, see if you get a double play with Jerko. Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah. It's too comfortable at the plate for me.
Three and 2.
Well, DeYoung just set a new Cardinals rookie record for home runs in July with 8, passing J.D. Drew back in 1999. And Rip Rapolsky back in 1953.
3-2 and a foul tip. What did old Rip do after that month of July?
They just don't name them like they used to.
If you could go back and, you know, as we said yesterday, wandering the planet, say in the 30s, what would be your nickname? Pepper?
I like Pepper.
You go Pepper? Here's the 3-2. Got him. Strike 3. That was a good pitch. Delayed call by Mark Carlson, but Hoffman made a beautiful pitch. And now there are 2 outs with Jerko coming up.
Even though it's mislocation, it's still in the strike zone, and that's not been a pitch that Jeff Hoffman's been getting. Love the pitch. It tied up DeYoung. He knew it. Overthinking it, looking for the off-speed pitch. That's why the 2-1 slider is so important. That was in the back of his mind.
Chance to get out of this with 2 outs, Jerko at the plate. And that curveball's in there for a strike. 0-1. Rapolsky had a decent career. He had 106 home runs.
You look at the marks, who he's tied with DeYoung. Rip Rapolsky, J.D. Drew. He also has 16 extra base hits. And now we have names like Pepper Martin and Ripper Collins coming into play.
This ball lashed foul. What about for you, you know, the great Cardinal Hall of Famer,
Dizzy Dean? Yeah, those are great. I mean, Ripper, Pepper.
No, but I mean for
Rip,
you.
Dizzy.
Dizzy. Yeah, you see Dizzy Spillboards running around?
Yeah, I like that one.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of some other ones.
Smokey.
No.
Just missed. How about Bronco?
Not a huge fan of Bronco.
Bronco Nagurski.
I always wanted a Bronco as a car. It's not my name.
My favorite television characters, Os Cartwright. 1-2. Did he go? No, he didn't, according to C.B. Buckner. 2-2. Oh, yeah, old Haas Spilborgs. Boy, he can turn around a fastball, that Haas Spilborgs.
Ripper would be the one I want. Ripper's a sweet name.
Two on Jerko. Textbook blocked by Hannigan. 3-2. Oakland has had to work hard through the top part of the lineup in the first and now here in the third. Got him. That's some pitching right there. Jeff Hoffman strikes out DeYoung and Jerko with Matt Carpenter at third. Rockies lead at 4-2. JD Martinez, 3 home runs now in an Arizona Diamondback uniform. Here at St. Louis, it's the Rockies 4 and the Cardinals 2. Colorado trying to salvage 1 out of 3 here before the day off tomorrow in Washington. Cargo's going to lead it off in the 4th inning. He bounced to second his first time up. Story and Hannigan to follow. 2 in the first, 2 in the third for the Rockies against Carlos Martinez.
The Diamondbacks come to Busch Stadium next. 4-game series against the Cardinals.
One ball, one strike. And Cargo pulls this into right field. That'll be a base hit off the glove of Matt Carpenter. So a lead single, and Cargo has a 7-game hitting streak. We discussed this yesterday. It's so important when you make any kind of mechanical changes, Billy, isn't it, to have some success so you are rewarded for your hard work.
Yeah, it really is, because you want results. whether it's a broken bat single, whether it's a ball off a diving infielder's glove, you need results. This is a result-oriented business. At the end of the day, when you're looking up and you see that your batting average is getting close to 230, your confidence starts to go up.
A strike on Trevor. Story hit a ground ball to short his initial at bat. Last 9 ball games, he's hit 3 home runs, hitting .353. He's driven in 12. Mike Matheny, after the ball game, was asked about the pitch by Bowman that Story hit out to tie it at 2 in the 8th. And he said, I watched the video on it. This ball sharply hit to third. There's 1 and there's 2. He felt like it was a really good pitch. He said Story just went down and got it. Fans, if the Rockies score 7 runs or more in any game, go to participating Colorado Taco Bell locations the next day. Do it between 4 and 6. You get your Rockies taco special. Hannigan with 2 outs and nobody on. You know, going back to Parra's double last inning to give the Rockies a 4-2 lead. That was their first hit with a runner in scoring position in the series. They came in 0 for 11. You look back over the last 18 games on the road, Gerardo, 15 losses. You can't point to just one area. No. The ERA has been not good, above 6. You can't win with that kind of ERA no matter what you're hitting. But early in the year, they're hitting well over 300 with runners in scoring position out on the road. And that number dropped off by over 100 points the last 18. Martinez strikes out Hannigan. That'll end the inning. It began with a Cargo single. Rockies 4, Cardinals 2. We go to the bottom of the 4th inning.
Oh, the Wizard of Oz. Nobody can do it like Ozzie Smith. I may not drive in 100 runs a year, but I can prevent 100 runs a year. That's for sure. What a glove he had. And, of course, his number 1 is retired here in St. Louis. I had a great conversation with Stu Cole because Stu grew up, like many of us, an Ozzie Smith fan. And Stu played middle infield. He did play in the big leagues for the Kansas City Royals. And he told me he met Ozzie Smith when Ozzie was playing with the Cardinals. That was in St. Petersburg in spring training. And then he also met him when he introduced Ozzie Smith to Troy Tulowitzki at the Futures game at PNC Park in Pittsburgh in 2006. And he cherishes that story, introducing him to Tulo.
Yeah, I bet he does. And Tulo, a great historian of the game. It was really important to Troy. It still is important, obviously, to Troy, that he knew who came before him. I remember when he commissioned Vernon Wells' dad, who's a tremendous artist. Yachty lines one to left. It's going to get down in front of Parra. Leadoff single in the fourth for Molina. But he commissioned a painting that had Tulowitzki in the middle, but it had A-Rod, it had Jeter. I'm trying to remember, there were I think it had Ripken on there. There were 3 or 4 other iconic shortstops. Randall Grichuk struck out his first time. Grichuk 3 for 20 against the Rockies this year. For the most part, they have handled him. Molina a 1-step lead off of first. That fastball way inside, ball 1.
Mentioned how Molina has 7 stolen bases, was almost on his way to second base. And part of the reason why he has those 7 stolen bases, always anticipating, looking for dirt balls. As a catcher, he knows what the pitch sequences are.
Molina, as Hannigan visits with Hoffman, Molina a chance to talk to his good friend Mark Reynolds at first base. They had a lot of fun. Mark told the story yesterday, when it was 2 days ago, when Mark was trying to get Molina to stretch a double into a triple. And never seen a guy laughing as he's running with the guy also laughing, trailing him. That's a good pitch. 2-1. And 2-2. The book on Grichuk, if it's spinning, he struggles. You know, Hannigan and Jeff Hoffman really studied the scouting report. Go outside, 2-2. And they go slider, but he wasn't close to inducing a swing. 3-2 on Grichuk. Three-two. Fastball, and it's going to be bounced toward the hole and on through, as LeMahieu was at double play depth and could not get there. So now you have 2 on, nobody out in the 4th.
We know this year the Rockies have been limiting their shifts, and this is probably the most shifted DJ will be on a right-handed hitter. Grichuk's still known to just pull the baseball, gets beat by fastball, and is able to sneak it right past DJ.
Harrison Bader, batting 7th, had an infield hit in his 2nd major league game. There's a strike. At a Horace Mann High School in the Bronx. One of his amateur coaches flew into town to watch his big league debut yesterday from New York, and he also alerted Adam Ottavino he's going to be in town because he had coached Adam at one point. Got a 9-year difference in age. And Otto Growing up in Brooklyn, used to compete against Horace Mann. One of his good friends in the game went to Horace Mann, Pedro Alvarez. Then on to Vanderbilt, one of the top 2 picks in the draft when he came out. One.
We always talk about pitch sequencing. You hear me talk about it almost every single night. Think of it as a 3-pitch sequence, and that's why fastball command is so important. What is the pitch that you can throw to get strike 1? Is it a fastball down away? Is it a fastball in? You have that command. If you fall behind 1-0, what do you have? What can get you back in the count? And then what is the pitch that gets you to 1-2? Right now, there is no off-speed pitch to get you to 1-2.
Right now, it says it all, buddy. Every time he looks out there, he sees a lot of traffic. The Rockies with a 4-2 lead, but it's precarious right now. Nobody out, 2-1 pitch, good curveball. And that's get you back in the count, curveball.
That's exactly right. 2-1 pitch, looking fastball. This is what a young rookie is going to look for. Is going to not come off the fastball and drop in the slow curve. Now in the back of Bader's mind, he's wondering what is coming right here.
That was the best curveball he's thrown tonight. We can't keep spin rate up here, obviously, but that had great spin rate to it. 2-2, and did he go on the slider? No, 3-2.
What is that? 4 check swings tonight?
A lot of them.
Buddy's not liking it. He's getting hot with CB.
There was one earlier that without question was a swing. That one was pretty close. 3-2 on Bader. Hoffman, a lot of high stress pitches, not to mention a lot of pitches. Nobody out in the 4th. His next delivery is his 70th. The Rockies tonight, if they need a quote-unquote closer, and Greg Holland not available the next few days on paternity leave. But he didn't want to answer the question. Said just watch, we'll see how we navigate the last few innings as to who would close the game. That made the home plate umpire Mark Carlson flinch, and yet he called it a ball. And now the bases are loaded, and that was at the bottom of the Subaru strike zone. So Hoffman's gotten squeezed a bit.
It's hard enough to be at the major league level and compete against major league hitters.
Well received by Hannigan. It's right over the heart of the plate.
And this is where you hear guys talk about you're playing against 10 players right now. That's center cut at the bottom of the zone. Last night it hurt the Rockies.
Buddy's not overly demonstrative, overly emotional typically while he is watching. We're seeing it tonight. He is definitely frustrated with the strike zone and frustrated with some of the check swings. Now the bases are loaded, nobody out. Colton Wong's up there.
Well, already tonight it's hurt the Rockies. Matt Carpenter gets a walk. He was struck out in the 3rd inning. You're trying to protect Wong. You're trying to protect your players. You're trying to protect your guys, and the league's trying to do a good job of protecting players' arms as well. These are high-stress innings. Takes its toll on the player.
Ground ball, deep short, and Story did well to get the out at second. It's 4-3 as Molina scores. And they're pointing in the dugout. They want to replay this to see if the runner that new rule, if the runner slid improperly into second.
You have to keep control of the bag. So we'll pay attention to Bader as he goes into second. If he hangs on to the bag, which he's not, this might come back and swing into the Rockies' favor. Bud Black is going to petition. He's going to ask Field and Colbreth to take a look at it. He's going to explain the rule. It's a tough lesson for a rookie, but good for the Rockies. He's not maintaining control of the bag.
He is not asked to have it looked at. One of the reasons Buddy came out, I think he wanted to say something to Mark Carlson. I don't know if he did without looking at him. Carlos Martinez at the plate. He's going to be bunting. Grichuk is at third.
I think it would have been worth a coach's challenge for that play at second base.
One and out. Slug bunt. 1-1. Problem with that execution, he took a hack like he's trying to hit a home run, huh, Billy?
Just put the ball in play. Except Nolan and Mark Reynolds weren't fooled by it. They weren't crashing as hard as they did the first time.
He's going to break his bat, and he's still got another strike to go.
He certainly is entertaining.
I love it.
Probably cracked it.
It sounded like he did. He may have. Another high fastball at 95. 1-2. Nice saying it's back. Hole. Grichuk at third, Wong at first. One out, a run in. 4-3 Colorado.
A lot of pitches now for Jeff Hoffman at 77.
A number of guys started stretching for the Rockies when Bader walked. Nobody's up. 1-2 on the ground through the hole, base hit. Wong's going to go first to third. We're tied at 4. Eight RBIs for Carlos Martinez.
Fastball down and away. And to me, it looked like DJ misread the swing. He was leaning toward second base. The ball sneaks past him.
Now, the Rockies offense has done a nice job getting 4 runs off a tough guy like Carlos Martinez. Unfortunately, Jeff Hoffman has not been able to keep St. Louis at bay. Now you're at the top of the lineup. Matt Carpenter 0 for 1 and a walk.
Infielders will read swings. Pay attention to DJ. Reading the swing and location. Hesitation, took a step towards second base. Just that flinch right there.
One strike on Carpenter, and that's called a strike. 0-2. Two runs in the first for the Cardinals on the 2-run home run by DeYoung. Bader reached on an infield hit in the second. In the third, there were a couple of runners on to begin the inning. A couple of strikeouts for Hoffman ended that threat. 2 runs here in the fourth. There's been a lot of traffic against Jeff this evening. 0-2 on Carpenter. Base hit toward right center field. Martinez will go first to third. Now he's going to get waved home, and he's going to score. And nobody's at third base, and going to third is Carpenter. One ugly inning for the Rockies. 6-4. St. Louis.
Carpenter, not known for striking out a lot, fights it. Down 0-2. Cargo just trying to cut this off, knowing it's going to get past him. Martinez off the bat. Picks up third base coach Mike Schilt. And then the relay throw, getting away. Making that play a very sloppy play for the Rockies.
They give a double to Carpenter. This ball lined to center field, and here comes Carpenter. He'll score. Standing up. 7-4. 5-run, 4th inning. Sac fly for Pham. Gave an error to Charlie Blackmon on the throw coming in. Double and an error. 7-4. And twice you've had a 2-run lead. rough starts now for Hoffman. Friday night against Pittsburgh, and now tonight here in St. Louis. Oberg the first up.
Trying to overthrow the off-speed pitch, gets away from him.
Ball and a strike on to Young. .32 pitches into this inning. Began with a Molina single. Grichuk found a hole on the right side. Bader walked on a controversial 3-2 pitch. Like he had him struck out. Wong, an RBI, fielder's choice. Martinez, that's the one that hurts also a ton.
It's 2 strikes. You have 2 huge hits with 2 strikes.
Popped up in the infield. Story makes the catch. The Rockies with plenty of work to do. Down 7-4 after a 5-run 4th inning.
Charlie Blackmon is due up second in this inning. UC Health, rock your routine. This is a Charlie, Chuck Nasty, Blackmon only thing. When the team is on the road, he stands on the top step of the dugout, and when the opponent goes out for the first pitch to warm up, Chuck sprints to the on-deck circle, and that's when he gets ready. I don't have any explanation for you guys about it, but that's just something that Charlie Blackmon does as the leadoff hitter and the Chuck Nasty that he is, and I think that's enough said.
You know, Charlie will be hitting second this inning. Hoffman will be done. Kyle Freeland, his closest friend in baseball, is going to pinch hit for him. Rockies down 7-4. This is frustrating. You went out and got 4 runs against a guy who doesn't relinquish many in Carlos Martinez. And now you find yourself down by 3. Every time the conversation, when you talk to Buddy Black and a member of the media will ask him about, you know, a slump of an individual player offensively, or maybe, you know, a couple of weeks ago when the Rockies weren't producing offensively, Buddy never worries about that. Buddy always goes back to pitching. And not just because it's his background, because it's the essence of the sport. Good pitching, you know, the old adage, beats good hitting every time, right? And so the Rockies will win their share of games when they pitch well. And unfortunately, you know, there's been a missed call here and there in the strike zone, but Jeff's gone after 4 innings, and there's 7 runs up on the board. You always have to deal with adversity, and that's part of, I don't want to beat Jeff Hoffman up. this young rotation's been outstanding this year, but you're going to still have growing pains.
No doubt. And it's not, I mean, you can point to the umpire. It's always an easy excuse. It's how you reacted after that.
5 strikeouts for Martinez. He gets Freeland. Join in on the conversation. Send us your statements or questions. Use Twitter or Instagram. Go to AT&T Sportsnet RM and also include the hashtag Toyota Talk. It's the same thing that we saw with that great quote from Ozzie Smith that Mark utilized a couple of innings ago. I may not drive in 100, but I'm going to prevent 100. That's what good pitching does. This ball is through the right side, another base hit for Charlie. So yesterday robbed twice, an 0 for 4 ball game, and it's not going to work if you're Charlie Blackmon. He's 2 for 3 here in the early going. That'll bring up LeMahieu.
I'm just counting up the amount of 2-strike hits given up by Hoffman tonight. You had Paul DeJong in the first inning, 2-run home run that came back to bite him. 2-strike hit to Martinez, even though DJ took a false step in the wrong direction. That came back to bite him. Matt Carpenter had him 0-2, double. So you can't blame the strike zone all the time.
No, you have to get the opposition pitcher.
Exactly.
You cannot let him even put the ball in play.
Can't let him put it in play.
DJ a walk and a double. On his double, he bounced, sliding safely initially into the bag, and then they reviewed it and he was called out. 2 gone.
Rockies baseball is always live with the MLB.com at bat mobile app. Stay connected all season with video highlights, stats, news, and more.
'88 RBIs for Nolan, a 2-run home run in the first. The '88 Ribbies leads all of baseball. He's done that each of the last 2 years. He also now has 464 RBIs in a Rockies uniform, tied for 10th on Colorado's all-time list, tied with Brad Hopp. He walked and scored in the third on the Parra double. July Ribbies on July the 26th. Be looking for a ball game to participate in tomorrow.
Strike missed right there. It's going both ways.
1-1. Oh. That was scary.
Anytime you get a baseball up near your head, you can see the run on that. Missed location by at least 3-4 feet. Trying to go down and away here. Nolan does a good job. That's how you're supposed to roll. Whenever there's a pitch up near you, you need to roll your shoulder towards the catcher. You don't open up.
Line drive, right field, base hit. Rockies get their 5th run. That's how you answer when somebody comes up and in. 3rd Ribby tonight, number 89 on the season for Arenado. Maybe a night you just got to outscore them.
Keep grinding, Rockies. Most people think after you get a pitch up and in that you get scared, that you're scared to step back in the box. In fact, that's quite the opposite. Most guys love to get back in the box. We call it hyper focus. Good, you just woke me up.
Charlie scoring for the 89th time this year. Big swing from Parra, no baseball. He doubled in 2 on the first pitch he saw in the 3rd inning. Blackmon's 89 runs scored leads all of baseball. How hot's Nolan Arenado? Last 14 games, Billy, that's the 5th time he's had at least 3 ribbies in a game. How about that? Two strikes on Gerardo. Fifth inning, 7-5 St. Louis. And that strikeout ends the inning. Rockies get a run back. Blackmon singled. He eventually scores on the Arenado hit to right. Here's our CenturyLink high-speed challenge question tonight. Go to AT&T Sportsnet or RM on Twitter to cast your vote. We'll show you the results of the post-game show. Who's the best defensive player you've ever watched? The Wizard of Oz, the Hall of Famer, Brooks Robinson. For those who've been around a while, Nolan Arenado, Omar Vizquel, who like Ozzie, for me, maybe a Hall of Famer just on his defense. I've never seen anybody better than Nolan. Ozzie Smith was truly a magician. Saw him play a lot. Didn't watch him play every day. Jed Jerko takes a fastball high from Jordan Lyles. Lyles takes over in the 5th inning. Try to get a couple innings, hopefully, out of Lyles. Give the Rockies a chance to continue to swing the bats. They've done a good job. 5 runs in 5 innings against Carlos Martinez, but they're down 7-5. 7 runs allowed by Hoffman over 4 innings, all earned. Excuse me, 6 were earned. 3 walks, 3 strikeouts. Two and two.
It's fun thinking about great defensive players because they are so underrated. A good defensive player is such a pleasure to watch. Nolan, that's why we're spoiled with watching a guy like Nolan. But Nolan brings the offensive side that Ozzie was never even close to.
Center field and hanging up in the air so Charlie can get there. 1 out. Jerk goes down 7 for his last 50 at the plate. I'll bring up Yadier Molina. Molina base hit and a run scored last inning. 8 came to bat in the 5-run 4th inning for St. Louis, playing their 126th season of baseball. That's south of the Needs Ball 1. Since the year 2000, they've had 1 losing season. That was in the Rockies World Series run of 2007. The only year they've been under 500 since 1999. And they have the 2nd best winning percentage in the 21st century to the Dodgers. And at the start of the year, the Cardinals were ahead of the Dodgers, but because the Dodgers are unbeaten this year, or so it seems, the Dodgers have moved ahead of them by 1/1000th actually of a percentage point. The Yankees are 3rd in terms of winning percentage in the 21st century, and then you'll never guess who's 4th without cheating.
So give it away. I don't know. Unless you want me to cheat. Yeah, I can see it.
You can see it?
I have fantastic.
Does that not surprise you?
Texas Rangers?
Would you have guessed that?
No.
I would never have guessed that. Rangers, 4th winningest team in the 21st century. 3-2 on Molina. And maybe the most unbelievable stat concerning Cardinal Nation and how successful this franchise has been will come after this pitch. How many losing seasons do you think they've had since 1919? Excuse me, how many times do you think they finished dead last, either in their division or the National League, going back to 1919?
5-6 times?
Yeah, I mean, which would be ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
That's really good. Once.
What?
1 time, 1990. And Molina, who rarely strikes out, goes down to Jordan Lyles on a 96-mile-an-hour fastball. 2 outs. That'll bring up Grichuk.
Was 1990 the year that Whitey Herzog was fired right after that?
I'm trying to think. The White Rat.
That's not kind.
I don't know. Do you go around saying, "Hey, what's your nickname?" Spilly. Good nickname. Makes sense.
I was right. Whitey Herzog was fired in 1990. The only losing season. That's a tough seat to have. And then Joe Torre took over.
See, Joe, and I say this with a wink and with affection, Joe was just an awful manager with the Mets, Atlanta, with St. Louis, and then he goes to the Yankees and he becomes a Hall of Fame skipper. Got it.
Because he had a great bullpen.
You got to have the horses. 1-1 on Grichuk. There's a news flash. Grichuk poked one through the right side. And the Rockies will employ a shift, though, with 3 on the left side. And baseball and bat go to the left side. Story made a great play. A great play. But it's still an infield hit. I mean, he threw that with authority on the money. And he finished about 30, 40 feet on the outfield grass, close to the left field line.
Eventually, it's going to be known throughout baseball that you can't get a baseball through the left side of the Rockies infield. Broken bat off the end. Nolan gives chase. Trevor backing up. I mean, that is as far as you'll ever see a major league shortstop make that jump throw. I don't think I've ever seen another shortstop that deep on the grass make the throw. Most guys eat it. They'll just put it in their back pocket.
Made it, and he got it there right on the money.
And if Randall Grichuk isn't the runner, because Grichuk could run well. If it's Yadi or Molina, he's out. If it's majority of the guys in the lineup other than Darth Bader and
Darth Bader.
Yeah. Well, it is Star
Darth
Wars.
Bader's up at the plate right now.
It is Star Wars night.
Infield single and a walk. Bader with 19 home runs down in Memphis, called to the big leagues yesterday when Dexter went on the DL. Fowler on the disabled list with a wrist injury. Steven Piscotty's rehabbing, coming back from a groin injury. Here's the 0-1. Another check swing. And this time,
That one goes.
C.B. Buckner says he went.
Cardinals dugout chirping at C.B. Buckner. He's not making any friends tonight on either side.
Here's the 0-2 from Lyles. First to check on Grichuk at first. Rockies have not had a 1-2-3 inning yet tonight. Do you have nights, Billy, where you felt like, man, your feet hurt more than other nights?
Yeah, usually it's when you're in humidity.
And you're on defense for a long time.
You're on defense for a long time, but for sure, whenever we played Midwest and it was hot,
Are you a Spikes guy or did you wear molded?
I was a
Bended?
Spikes guy. Well, in the outfield on the grass, I preferred having spikes than metal. And most guys prefer having metal when they're in the box. Some guys like to dig in the batter's box with metal spikes.
Which are, the reason I ask, harder on your feet.
Yeah, metal is a lot harder on the feet. The molded feel great.
Another fairly close play at first.
That's a really interesting thought process, is how many guys on this field right now are wearing metal spikes? Probably pitchers. But out of the position players, I would guess maybe one of them.
Now there's metal on the base runner, Grichuk, who's an outfielder. Story where it molded. Ground ball. Uh-oh. That just cost Lyles an out. He didn't realize it, but that would have been a pretty routine play for LeMahieu, even with Bader running. But once he deflected it, Bader has another infield hit. 2 on for Wong.
Ball hit right to Jordan's left. He outstretches to try to get that, and it would have gone right to DJ.
It's tough. I mean, instinctually, you go to get the baseball. The pitcher has to constantly remind themselves that you have to know where guys are positioned also, because Jordan had to make quite a move to even get close to reaching that. One he should have let go. Grichuk at second. Bader at first, 2 outs. Colton Wong.
All these slight miscues for the Rockies tonight, whether it's a miscalled strike, misread on a baseball. For a night when your bullpen might be a little short, it's costing them a lot of extra pitches.
Two and 0. That's a cross up, and both runners will move up. Might as well now just go ahead and now put Wong on. You have Martinez on deck. First base is open. That's already been indicated, so Wong will be intentionally walked as Hannigan talks to Lyles. You know, you saw Jordan a couple times squint when looking at the signs from Hannigan. That's an obvious cross up. You got to get Martinez. Martinez with an RBI single in the 4th.
So the ball with 2 strikes, he puts the ball in play. DJ taking a step to his right, misreading the swing. One of the rare times you ever see DJ do that.
Ball 1 on Martinez. Jordan taking a lot of time. Grichuk, Bader, Wong all on base. 2 outs. 5th inning, 7-5 St. Louis. There's that Andrew Jones hack again. the other things Martinez is known for, the 100-mile-an-hour fastball, the coloring of his hair frequently, and he's the head of the bucket brigade when they win. He's the Gatorade dumper, typically.
He throws water in guys' face if they hit a home run.
Ground ball to DJ, and that'll end the inning. Couple of hits, an intentional walk. Cardinals leave him loaded. Reynolds will be first up. Rockies down 2.
The T-Mobile Unlimited Baseball Break, talking about Ozzie Smith. How about all-time defensive WAR? Yeah, he's first with a 43.4. Then you've got 3 other shortstops, Belanger, Ripken, and Tinker, and Brooks Robinson in the middle, the third baseman. That, of course, is courtesy of Baseball Reference. I told Spilly I'd break out my incredible baseball stats book. You'll like this, Billy. Ozzie Smith hit 262. Derek Jeter hit 310, but in total WAR, Ozzie leads Jeter because he saved 485 more runs on defense than Derek Jeter did.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that 262, 8th lowest of any position player in the Hall of Fame. And it said he'd have to go 531 for 531 if he came back to the game to get above 300.
Well, I'm reading some of the advanced metrics that people love to look at. OPS plus is one of those numbers. Ozzie Smith only had 4 seasons that he was
above 100.
Above 100.
Yeah. He did it with his glove.
Career 87 OPS plus.
And I factor in the backflip too.
Yeah. You got to factor backflip.
Yeah.
Backflip.
I think Nolan needs to start doing those. Just to add to the repertoire. Mark Reynolds, Carlos Gonzalez, Trevor Story. Rockies down 2. Top of the 6th inning.
I remember when I first started collecting baseball cards, and I had an Ozzie Smith card when he was with the Padres.
That was a very significant trade, and it was 2 really talented guys, because Gary Templeton was a marvelous talent. Ozzie improved as an offensive player.
Well, I think the AstroTurf that they played on certainly helped.
Well, to their credit, they put a team together that was perfect for the old Bush to strike out a Reynolds. The only guy in that lineup that you said, ooh, this guy could hit it out of the ballpark, was Jack Clark. Rockies have Tyler Chatwood up, working out of the bullpen in his return from the disabled list, at least this week. Rockies also announced they're going to skip Antonio Senzatella, The off day will allow them to do that. Cargo a base hit his last time. 1 for 2, 7-game hitting streak. 7 strikeouts for Carlos Martinez. 1-1. Two balls, 2 strikes. You know, this is the week. Gets a lot of attention. Rumors everywhere about trades. There have been several that have been consummated over the last few days. Cargo bounces this one to first. 2 outs. Who's a buyer? Who's a seller? Who should be a buyer? Who should be a seller? You have to weigh, are you going for a division title, or realistically you're trying to get in as a wild card, and how much do you give up to win one game? One of the elements we haven't really spoken about is the importance, if you're a wild card team, and the Rockies, the way LA has played, things can change. There's a lot of baseball left, and hopefully, you know, the Rockies go on a great run and the Dodgers come back to earth and you have a chance in the division. But right now it certainly appears that the Rockies, one of the 2 wild card spots with Arizona, is competing for a wild card. That's a 1-game playoff. The importance, Billy, of playing that game at home, I think, may be more important to the Rockies than any other team in baseball.
No doubt, because most guys visiting pitchers hate to pitch at Coors Field.
Just take Arizona. If it ends up being the Rockies and Arizona, and each team were able to hand pick because they had enough of a lead where they could pick who they want to throw that playoff game. You know who Arizona's going to pick. It's a little unclear right now who the Rockies would pick, but they're going to go with Zach Greinke. Well, Zach Greinke is a great pitcher. You know, Zach Greinke would much prefer to pitch at Chase Field this year, not so much last year, but this year, than at Coors Field. 2 balls, 2 strikes on Story.
You always hear about the wild card playing is a coin flip. It's a coin flip. But we've also seen in the last couple of years that the wild card teams, many of them, make it to the World Series.
Martinez strikes out Story in a 1-2-3 6th inning. He's got 8 strikeouts. Cardinals are up 7-5. Top of the order next for St. Louis. Rockies baseball on AT&T Sportsnet is brought to you by Southwest Airlines. Yes to low fares with nothing to hide. That's transparency. We go to the bottom of the 6th inning in St. Louis, Missouri. And the Cardinals are up 7-5. The Rockies had a 2-0 lead on Nolan Arenado home run in the first. Didn't last long. Then they took a 4-2 lead on a Parra double driving in 2. That didn't last long. 5-run 4th inning wiped out that Rockies lead. Rockies got a run back in the 5th. Base hit by Arenado to drive in Blackman. 7-5, second inning of work for Lyles. Hoffman gave up 7 runs, 6 earned over 4 innings. One on Carpenter, 2-1 on Carpenter. Doubled in 2 in the 4th inning for 2 and a walk tonight. Lyles, the former Houston Astro, came in the Dexter Fowler deal to the Rockies. 1 out. Tommy Pham coming up. The Rockies' upcoming home schedule after they visit Washington is brought to you by Remax. 3 against the Mets. The first 2 will be right here on AT&T Sportsnet. And then the Phillies are in town. Remax upcoming homestand. Tommy Pham bounces this foul. A walk, a single, a sac fly tonight. He's driven 1 in. He scored 1 for Pham. Discussing, you just got to get in it. There's a base hit. Talk about the postseason tournaments, Philly. One of the 2 world championships, most recent world championships for the Cardinals, came in a season they won 83 regular season games.
That's right.
83 doesn't usually get you an invitation. Not only did it sneak them in that year, but that's when they started to do damage. Ball to Young, 2-run home run in the first, a strikeout and a pop out since. Be concerned about Pham running 0-1. Usually when we see St. Louis last couple of years, we find a reason to mention Marco Gonzalez. Here's our reason in this trip. Marco's no longer with the Cardinals. I don't know if you missed it, but did a recent deal with Seattle, and Marco was part of that trade, so he's now a member of the Mariners organization.
Tommy Pham, like Ian Desmond, doesn't like to dive into first base. That last one, very close.
Ball and a strike on DeYoung, who went to school at Illinois State. Led the Missouri Valley Conference just 2 years ago in home runs with 14. Hit 3 in 1 game. Another check on Pham. DeYoung got to the big leagues quickly. His collegiate career. Played just a little more than 200 minor league games. The way he swung the bat, looks like he's here to stay. He's not even playing his natural spot. I think in the big leagues, he's going to be more of a second or third baseman. Broken bat, fly ball, shallow left. Gerardo makes the catch.
Did you know that suites at Coors Field are available for individual game rental? All suites are private to your group and include a food and beverage package. Call 303 Rockies today. It's pretty good for a guy that you were mentioning, and Paul playing out of position and playing an elite position in the major leagues at shortstop, and he's looked
very comfortable.
Very comfortable.
Jed Jerko's now a third baseman. He was playing second base most of his big league career until recently. Pop out, strike out, fly ball to center field tonight for Jerko. Played for Buddy Black in San Diego.
One of the familiar faces that we're used to seeing on the Cardinals coaching staff is Jose Oquendo. He's no longer with the major league team. He's in Florida. He had some knee issues that he wanted to stay closer to home. But his footprint or his thumbprint is still with this team. In fact, the very first time he met Colton Wong, he handed Colton Wong a DVD of second baseman's making the turn. Double play turns, and that DVD Colton would watch all throughout the minor leagues to try to work on his footwork and his hands. I would assume, if that was the case with Paul, that Jose Oquendo has probably sent him some videos of certain players that he is supposed to watch and emulate.
Well, DeYoung makes his offseason home in Orlando now, so you know that those two have been acquainted since he was drafted in the 4th round. I asked Jose last time I saw him if he, and he was having the knee problems. But you know, at one point he was I want to say he was +1 on the golf course, below scratch. He used to play in the Tahoe event.
He could probably, if he played with the fungo, he'd probably be at +4.
Wizard with that, right?
Wow.
1-1. Outside, 2-1 on Jerko. Jordan Lyles, originally a starting pitcher, converted a year ago to the bullpen. The stuff's always been there. It's just a matter of consistency. Been a continuing theme, at least in this series. A conversation about hitting the glove and the importance of command, which trumps everything else. Two and one on Jerko. That pitch not executed. 3-1.
And in Ryan Hannigan's mind, he has a 3-pitch plan for every batter, a 3-pitch sequence. What he wants to do to get first strike 1, what to do to get him to strike 2, and then how to put him away. And you're always trying to get guys out in 3 pitches. And when you're not hitting location, there's no sequence. There's nothing. There's nothing a catcher can do back there to help you out.
And Jerko walks, and that pushes Pham to scoring position, and now you deal with Yadier Molina. Lyles worked out of a bases loaded situation in the 5th. That was his first inning of work. I mean, it's been like I-25 at 5 o'clock for the Cardinals today against the Rockies. Big time traffic every inning. Affect your rhythm offensively also, Spilly?
They were feeling good about themselves after the first, after the third.
Down the line, and that will bring home another run. Into the corner, it's going to bring home 2. Jerko trotting home a 2-run double from Molina, and it's 9-5.
After walking, Jerko, Lyles is trying to find a strike. Yadier Molina, the aggressive Yadier Molina, wasting no time. Fastball up in the zone, something he can handle.
And that's a base hit. Yadi to third. He'll be held there by Mike Schilt. That'll bring up Harrison Bader.
The Rockies bullpen is not moving. This is Jordan Lyles' inning to get out.
He's due up second, and
Darren Holmes just now going to listen to the phone. We'll see if it's Tyler Chatwood's first opportunity to come out of the bullpen.
well, the next 2 months, the story for every team, Rockies are no different. The story will be told by the guys that toe the rubber. It's the same deal. We always talk about it. It's a first pitch fastball over the heart of the plate to Yadier Molina. That ends up doing a lot of damage. It's about a veteran guy who always is going to have a sound game plan.
Well, he sees it, right? Like if you're watching the game, if you're sitting here paying attention to the game, you know a guy struggles to find command. You know he's going to come and try to sneak a strike in there, so you hunt fastball early, and you know that Jordan, because he can't manipulate the strike zone, the bottom of the zone, that you're going to get a pitch out that you can handle. That's what all the hitters are doing now.
Bader's been on 3 times in his second major league game. Infield hit, a walk, and then another infield hit. Truly disappointing thing, at least so far, and the Rockies have 9 more outs to work with offensively, is that you had 5 runs against Carlos Martinez. You had 5 runs in 5 innings against Martinez. Really 5 runs in any game, especially a road game. Of course, field plays differently, as we all know, but especially a road game, a ballpark like St. Louis, Busch Stadium, which typically played very fair, kind of neutral, isn't skewed toward hitters, isn't skewed overly toward pitchers. Those are games that you have to win the vast majority of the time. Now the Rockies need to score in double digits. Boy, that's a great play by Hannigan. We rarely talk about this aspect also. When a pitcher is battling command, it becomes very, very difficult for a catcher because you don't trust where you set up. You camp out on the outside corner and set a nice low target, but if the pitch is not arriving there, and I don't mean it's a 3-inch miss, but it's a 2-foot miss, or that situation, a ball that's spiked at 57 feet, really hard. And that's a good pitch, and that will strike out Bader. 2 runs come in with 2 outs on the double by Molina. He's got 44 RBIs now. Cardinals up 9-5. right, Jenny, we'll be checking that out. Ryan Hannigan looking closely because there's a new arm on the hill for St. Louis. It's John Brebbia after 6 innings of Carlos Martinez. Brebbia making his second appearance in the series. Good numbers.
You're looking at Brebbia with a 1.61 ERA and 19 relief appearances. Yeah, those are fantastic numbers. The opponent average for me is important. 1.173. Not a lot of walks.
So Hannigan, and then Alexi Amarista, and then Charlie Blackmon. Carlos Martinez on the plus side. He's not won a game since June 16th. He went 6 innings. He allowed 5 runs. 7 hits, didn't walk anybody, struck out 8. So the Rockies will try to get after this Cardinal bullpen. It has at times been vulnerable. 2-0. Two and one. The Rockies have just made a trade we're going to tell you about in a moment. That is a fair ball, and Hannigan's out by a couple of strides. Good play by Jerko. That'll bring up Amarista. So Amarista will try to reach in front of Charlie Blackmon against Brebbia. Rockies bench a man short. Desmond not available tonight. Looks like Tyler Chatwood is going to take the baseball next.
Well, Brebbia is a fantastic story, a former 30th rounder of the New York Yankees back in 2011. He's a guy that played 126 minor league games, 2 years of independent ball.
This ball's into air to left center field and run down by Bader. Well, here's the trade the Rockies made. They need help in their bullpen, and they've got a guy coming who's had an outstanding year. Pat Neshek. Pat Neshek was acquired just now by the Rockies for 3 minor leaguers: Jose Gomez, J.D. Hammer, and Alejandro Requena. And this year, Neshek with a 1.12 ERA, a 9-to-1 strikeout to walk ratio. Veteran guy who has not only been around the block, but he's pitching a lot of big ball games.
And he's giving you a different arm angle for the Rockies. We're talking
from
about
Laredo.
He's coming from down low.
And Philadelphia is currently at home, which would make it very easy for him to join the Rockies in Washington.
We'll pick him up tonight
for Friday. Rockies will go fly down to Philadelphia on the way from St. Louis.
We'll land in Citizens Bank Ballpark. Pick him up.
Airport's close. Pat, it's better than Uber.
Move like that on an off day, the guys get to see a name. We talk about the confidence that moves make for teams. Lets the Rockies know the front office has their back. The guys in the clubhouse know that there's another guy coming to help them out.
2-2 on Charlie. Couple hits tonight. And Brebbia strikes him out. Middle of 7, the Rockies down 9-5 in St. Louis. Pat Neshek will be the newest Rocky. Take a look at our Cooney Lexus look back. It started well for the Rockies in the first inning, top half. Another home run for Nolan Arenado, his 23rd, 2-0. But Jeff Hoffman gave up a 2-run home run in the bottom half of the inning to DeYoung. Parra said, no problem, I'll get the lead back. He drives in 2 with that double, 4-2 Colorado, and then it really turns south. 5 runs in the 4th inning for St. Louis. That was a big blow, 2-run double from Matt Carpenter. They have tacked on since then. They're up 9-5. Nolan, on the positive side, has driven in 3 runs for the Rockies tonight. He drove in another run on a single. So Tyler Chatwood coming out of the bullpen.
His last relief appearance came back July 5th, 2012. His 9 career games out of the bullpen. He's 1-1. Including a save.
Tweaked his calf in his last start, placed on the 10-day disabled list. First pitch to Colton Wong misses.
Chatwood immediately starting out of the stretch. Normally Chatwood will come out of the windup. Out of the bullpen, he's going straight stretch, trying to locate fastball.
This has been an issue, as you know, for Tyler, throwing enough strikes, and he's 3-0. Neshek in his career has a 2.76 ERA. He has the 45 strikeouts this year and 40 1/3. So more than a strikeout an inning. As I said a moment ago, he doesn't walk anybody, just 5. In his career, 423 2/3 innings, 423 strikeouts. He has pitched for Minnesota, San Diego, Oakland, St. Louis, Houston, and Philly. So the fact that Buddy Black knows him, an added bonus. Pitched for Buddy in 2011.
Coors Field is a great place for group outings. Groups of 25 or more receive discounted pricing, scoreboard recognition, and other great benefits. Call today for more information.
Neshek in 2014, pitched with the Cardinals, pitched exceptionally well. 7-2, a 1.87 ERA in 71 appearances.
And he's doing better this year. 1.12 ERA with a .82 whip.
There's Luke Voigt pinch hitting. And he went. So it's 1-1. One and two. Here's the other thing that you really like about Neshek. All of those numbers, certainly. But he has pitched in the postseason 5 different times, actually 4 different years, but with the Cardinals, they were in the NLDS and the NLCS in 2014. He's made 13 appearances in the postseason, 2.61 ERA. Card going to right. 1 out, and that'll bring up Matt Carpenter. Neshek, 36. Went to Butler basketball school in Indianapolis.
The Bulldog.
He will be a free agent at the end of the year.
All 3 of the Rockies minor leaguers that they gave up were all midseason All-Stars in Asheville.
They were all midseason All-Stars in Asheville. None of the 3 were on the preseason top 30 prospects, according to Baseball America, for the Rockies. One strike on Carpenter.
.97 miles an hour on that pitch, blows it right past Matt Carpenter. This is something that Bud Black wants to see, is Chatty in this role coming out of the bullpen, which, as we mentioned earlier, he's going to be in this bullpen through the weekend. Bud's always loved the stuff.
Gotta love the stuff. He's hard to hit. He just obviously has to limit the free passes. Runner going, and that's served through the left side. A Story broke for the bag. And Matt Carpenter watches Colton Wong go to third. First and third, 1 out. Tommy Pham coming up.
Matt Carpenter has to thank his teammate Colton Wong for getting this base hit. This ball was headed straight towards Trevor Story because he's covering the bag. Carpenter hits it right through the vacant hole.
So Pham at the plate, a walk, a single, a sac fly, and another single. 1 driven in, 2 scored tonight for Pham. 13 hits for St. Louis, and that goes off the glove of Hannigan. And it is 10-5.
See if it's a cross-up. No, it's just a two-seam fastball that gets away from Ryan Hannigan. Go down as a wild pitch.
And nearly another one. Once again, the Rockies have just consummated a trade with Philadelphia. 3 minor leaguers, all in the Sally League, going to Philadelphia for Pat Neshek. Neshek this year, 1.12 ERA. Some other notes on Neshek. Lefties hitting 185 against him. Righties 207. With runners in scoring position, the league's hitting 091 against Pat this year. The other thing to remember about Neshek, not only the postseason experience, the history of success. Neshek this year producing those numbers on a bad baseball team, a young team, in a hitter's ballpark. And of course, he's going to another hitter's ballpark. But, you know, you make mistakes at the bank, at Citizens Bank, they usually end up souvenirs. Really strong acquisition for Jeff Bridich and his crew. And I'm not sure necessarily if the Rockies are done. So Pham to first, and DeJong gets at the plate. Another wild pitch. And you never ever want to say this, much less think it, or think it, much less say it. And you know where I'm going with this. It seems to be a mental thing now with Tyler.
It's hard to watch. It's hard to watch because we spend so much time with these guys. And to watch them struggle on the mound, you could see Tyler immediately after throwing that, he's yelling at himself. And then you have to settle your mind down. You have to settle down your heart. It's racing.
One and two on DeJong. Chatty strikes out DeJong. 2 outs. That'll bring up Jed Jerko. There have been at least 2 base runners for the Cardinals in every inning except the second, when there was just 1. 2 in the first, 1 in the second, 2 in the third. 6 in the fourth, 3 in the fifth, 3 in the sixth, and 3 here in the seventh.
After spiking that pitch, the wild pitch, Chatty with the yelling at himself has found something, whether it's feel.
One and one on Jerko, 0 for 3 and a walk. Good slide. 1 and 2. That hit the dirt. Ryan Hannigan trying to sell it.
Hard slider. Yeah, that one hit straight into the dirt. Hannigan's a good actor.
Little theater never hurts. In the inning, a run, the leadoff walk scored. Colton Wong eventually came around on a wild pitch. The Cardinals leading 10-5. Here's our Kubota pitching performance of the night. Carlos Martinez gave up 5 runs, 7 hits in 6 innings, but Jeff Hoffman gave up 7 runs in 4 innings. Rockies down 10-5 as we go to the top of the 8th inning. It's LeMahieu, Arenado, and Parra. Brett Cecil, the left-handers, now in the ballgame for the Cardinals. John Brebbia through the 7th inning. He got a 1-2-3 frame.
Cecil was signed for a 3-year deal with the St. Louis Cardinals. Hasn't quite lived up to what the Cardinals were expecting from him.
DJ's been on twice, walking a double. Take strike 1. When a trade gets made mid-game, in today's day and age of instantaneous transmission of information, how many players do you think right now in that dugout, it's not like they have their cell phones with them, how many guys do you think know? Guy goes to the clubhouse, says, hey, we just made a deal.
About half of them.
Oh, Amarista played with Neshek. Neshek's made only 4 appearances ever at Coors Field. Kind of surprising. And that is ripped to center field and almost over the head of Harrison Bader. That thing was swatted by LeMahieu.
Off the bat, Bader running in, thinks it's a low liner. DJ squared that baseball up.
That's backspin on it. Here's Nolan, 2-run home run, a walk, and a run scored, and a single to drive in another run. Next RBI will be number 90.
Cecil was originally drafted by the Toronto Blue Jays in 2007 with their first-round pick, the 38th overall out of Maryland. Originally a starter.
Grichuk and right. That's the second out.
Zach Brown Band is coming back to Coors Field this Saturday. Tickets are on sale now. Get your tickets today at Rockies.com/ZBB. Are you upset that you're not going to be there? Oh, poor guy.
Hard to be in two places at once. Want to be with you in Washington. Want to be with the family at Zach Brown also. It's going to be a blast. Gerardo Parra, 2 outs, nobody on. Gerardo a 2-run double in the third, 1 for 3. Couple strikeouts as well this evening. And another base hit for Parra. Well, he's done a great job all year. How about his work against lefties, though?
Some guys, especially for lefties, once they realize that they can keep their front hip and front shoulder in, hitting lefties is no more difficult than it is against the righties that they see. They just have to get a pitch they can handle.
Inside on Mark Reynolds. Parra's hitting above .410 against lefties this year. In his career, 246. And that's a base hit for Reynolds. That's a tweener. Parra to third. Mark's got a hustle. Uh-oh. Fortunately, that got away. The ball was on line, and if it was handled, Mark would have had a tough time being safe at second. He gets the double.
Cecil leaves the pitch out and up. Mark Reynolds with the short swing, trying to split the gap. Now we get an opportunity to see Bader in center field, and he can see he cuts down a lot of ground out there. Takes a great angle, gets around the baseball. He'll learn as a center fielder, it's better to skip the ball off the grass, off the outfield grass, instead of trying to get it there in the air. It's a lot easier for infielders to handle, and the ball skips off the grass with a lot more speed.
0-1 on Cargo. Base hit back in the fourth. He's 1 for 3. Ball on the ground. The other 2 at bats to the right side. One's to the second baseman. One's to the first baseman, Carpenter. And this is slowly hit. And Wong came off the bag. Or excuse me, Carpenter came off the bag on the throw by Wong. So a run scores. It's 10-6. Remember, Carpenter doesn't have a lot of experience at first base.
No, he doesn't. And an opportunity to maybe stretch to get the out, but it's going to go down as a base hit and an RBI for Carlos Gonzalez. Take that. That's not a great stretch by Carpenter. They're going to review this. What do you think, Drew?
I got to see it again. It's close, but wearing white shoes. Here's the Subaru Superbo. Leather.
And
yeah, from there it doesn't look good, but you got to see the front part of the bag to make sure his foot is actually contacting it. St. Louis walking off the field, they think he's out. Leather. It looks like his foot's on the bag there. Cardinals are now all completely off the field. And he is in fact out. The run does not score. We go to the bottom of the 8th, 10-5 St. Louis. Colorado Rockies baseball on AT&T Sportsnet is brought to you by Southwest Airlines. Say yes to low fares with nothing to hide. That's transparency. And by the Wyoming Department of Tourism, Wyoming is full of adventure. It's time to find out if you are too. That's why. Visit travelwyoming.com. The night started well. Did not progress as such. 10-5 St. Louis leading. The Rockies had leads of 2-0 and 4-2 in this ball game. Now in the bottom of the 8th inning, Adam Ottavino will throw. Yadier Molina, Randall Grichuk, Harrison Bader scheduled. And it's not going to be Molina with the sizable lead. Going to go to Kelly, young catching prospect, and he gets spun around a little bit. 1-0. Carson Kelly, Throughout his minor league career, the defense has been ahead of the offense. This young man evidently can really catch.
I've always wanted to have the backup catching job to Yadier Molina.
3-0.
Figured to be the best job in Major League Baseball. Backup Yadier Molina.
It's like the backup to Tom Brady. He gets to wear a baseball cap and he never gets hit. An NFL salary, in this case a big league salary. 3-1.
Plus you probably have the best teacher at your position. All you have to do is watch.
Deep center field, and Charlie makes a really nice play. Billy, you played a lot of center field. That wasn't so easy.
Not an easy play at all. Where Charlie saves himself. Oftentimes you'll see a outfielder, when they misread a baseball, they turn to the wrong shoulder, that they'll snap their head to try to turn back. This case, notice how Charlie has to spin and keep his eyes on the baseball, because he had to wait till the very last second to make that adjustment.
First pitch to Grichuk, ball 1. Rockies trying to straighten out a couple of guys that are getting work tonight. Guy who just threw, Tyler Chatwood, who was a rough inning, gave up a run, but he walked a couple. 2 wild pitches. Strikeout. Chatwood's first relief appearance since 2012. And now Adam Ottavino, who's had trouble throwing a lot of strikes. Reynolds will find Ottavino, but Ottavino didn't find the bag. Otto hesitated for just a moment. And if you're a pitcher coming off the mound, even the slightest of hesitation is going to make it very difficult to beat a runner to first.
Check swing. Ottavino trying to get over there. Let's see where it looked like he rolled his ankle, or did he get stepped on by Grichuk?
Well, the question is, did he touch the bag?
Well, I think his foot's on the bag.
Right there.
I think he's out. It was after watching Ottavino's right ankle.
C.B. Buckner spent a good portion of his night putting the headset on, talking to his friends in New York.
Otto gets his right foot down. It kind of looks like it.
Yeah, I mean, here's the deal. It's not on top of the bag, but, you know, the side of his foot, can you tell if it's touching the bag? That's the whole key.
Well, now I can't tell if he rolled his ankle or if he tried to retouch it. And that's why it looks so awkward with him stomping down on it.
You can tell why CB called him safe. He's looking for a foot to be on top of the bag. But here's what they do in New York. They'll zoom in on that foot. They have the ability to do that. See, I think he's out. That's how he turned it. Subaru Supermo. What do you got, Spilly?
Usually it comes out the opposite of what I say, so he's safe.
determine if his foot had touched the base. So it'll be an infield hit for Grichuk. Rockies are heading to Washington. They're going to have to pitch a whole lot better. That lineup, with all due respect to St. Louis, is even more formidable. One and 0. Bader, 2 infield hits, a walk and a strikeout. It's the 4th single of the night for Grichuk. The 4 hits is a career high. 14 hits in all for St. Louis. Adam Ottavino, a former Cardinal, drafted in the 1st round by St. Louis. A check swing. Oh, man. Bader with his 2nd career double. He's been smiling ear to ear since he got that call less than 48 hours ago. Got himself a 3-hit night. That is the all-time excuse me double. Wow.
You love it if you're a hitter. You hate it if you're a pitcher.
Wong with 1 out. Rockies bring the infield to the grass. And Wong didn't really commit to anything there. It's 0-1.
If anything, even though Ottavino's not hitting the location right where he wants, he's still getting some very weak swings. Beat Grichuk, beat Bader.
This is popped up in the infield. DJ will grab it. That's the 2nd out.
Get on-demand access to the rooftop with the Rooftop Ballpark Pass. $96 for 8 games. Includes concessions credit. Choose the days and redeem your pass from your phone. Go to Rockies.com/rooftop for more information.
Greg Garcia is going to be the pinch hitter with 2 outs. He started at 3rd base last night.
Not to pick on Ottavino with the struggles with command. I'm going to give you a number, Drew. I'm sure you know it already. Last year, Ottavino had 2.33 walks per 9. This year, it's at 6.43.
That's perplexing. You never were concerned in the past with Adam putting guys on. He has battled his mechanics since spring training. Remember, in spring training, it was a struggle. Usually veteran guys go, they'll figure it out. You know, it's March, not a big deal.
Strikeouts per 9 still up over 10. Still getting the punch out. Stuff's there. It's just like so many of the guys we've seen tonight. Just no command.
Three and one. look at that Subaru strike zone, and that's telling. Not only pitches up, but you're talking about pitches that aren't close. And that's going to load the bases for Matt Carpenter.
And even though we were complaining earlier about a missed strike here or there, they were still missed location, where Ryan Hannigan's having to reach. It's one thing if you have location, the guy hits the target, and the pitch is missed. There hasn't been many of those, and yeah, they go through the strike zone. Yeah, you can, if there was an automated strike zone, you get that call, but that's not how this game works, and that's not how I ever want to see this game to work.
Well, they've had 5 straight innings, the Cardinals, where they've had at least 3 base runners. They've had 15 hits. The Rockies have walked 8. That's 23 base runners in less than 8 full innings. You ain't going to win doing that. Two hits for Carpenter, also a walk. He's been on 3 times. One and one. Two balls and a strike. Left center field. Parra will call for it and make the catch. No runs. The Cardinals did load the bases. We'll go to the ninth, 10-5 St. Louis. All-Star Pat Neshek, All-Star this year, in fact, for the Philadelphia Phillies, is the newest Rocky. He'll be with the club, I'm sure, on Friday when the Rockies begin that series in Washington. 10-5, Rockies trail. In the ninth inning, Trevor Story will lead it off, and Into the ball game is Son-Wan Oh, who is the closer for the Cardinals. This is his first appearance in the series.
Oh has the best nickname in all of baseball. The Final Boss.
Final Boss, I like it. Carson Kelly, who pinch hit for Yadier Molina, is behind the plate. And a fastball swung underneath at 92. It's 0-1. And that's fouled off. 0-2. Rockies will have a day off tomorrow in D.C. Be another day of treatment for Ian Desmond. Ian hates not to play. We talked about that a lot. And you know it is of particular importance for him to help the club, number one, but he wants to play against the Nationals.
Of course he does. He wants to go up against his old teammates.
1-2. 1 out. Who wants tacos? Fans, follow us at AT&T Sportsnet RM on Twitter to receive alerts for the Rockies taco special when the Rockies score 7 or more in a game. Ryan Hannigan's 0 for 3. After the 4 spot occupied by Gerardo Parra. There's 2 hits, 5 through 9 in the lineup tonight for the Rockies. A Reynolds double in the 8th inning and a single by Cargo back in the 4th. That's it. Top of the lineup was very productive. 2 hits, 2 runs scored for Blackman. DJ had a double and also a walk. 2 strikes. Nolan a big night, 2-run home run, a walk, a run scored, a single to drive in another run. And Parra, a 2-run double, also a single, 2 for 4. However, when you give up 10, it's going to be hard to shake hands at the end of the night. Here's the 0-2 on Hannigan. On the ground to third. Jerko throws him out.
And you'll have mixed feelings about the trade when you go into the clubhouse tonight. You want to be excited about it. You also know that you're going to lose a teammate. And on the other side of it, you're not going to feel good about this series. It was a horrible series for the Rockies. Get swept. Day off needed.
Valleca swings and misses. We've seen O in the past, and he's not a super hard thrower, but guys don't pick him up because guys are tardy on his fastball frequently.
Mechanically, he hides the baseball so well.
Another 2-strike pitch. Arizona won earlier today. The Rockies were tied with Arizona going into the ball game tonight. And that's the ball game. 1, 2, 3, 9 for 0, and the Cardinals have swept the Rockies. The final score tonight, 10-5. And the Rockies' road woes continue after being one of the top teams in baseball on the road the first 2.5 months of the season. The Rockies have now lost 16 of their last 19 away from Coors Field. They'll have a day off tomorrow before getting ready for the leaders of the National League East, the Washington Nationals. Carlos Martinez gets his first win since mid-June. He improves to 7-8. Jeff Hoffman takes the loss. He is now 6-3. Our Jimmy John's delivery of the game, Matt Carpenter rips this double on a breaking ball to right center field, part of a 5-run fourth inning.